Sanam aloha, everybody. Welcome to the live stream for today. And if you could put your name and where you're logging in from and your astro details if you want to. Let me just check to see. Get my comments up so I can see everybody. Okay, great. Great. Okay. So we've got the lunar eclipse coming up on May 5th, 2023. So that's next week. So there's the chart. And I just want to remind people that I'm taking a whole new approach. And this is about serving my fractal line, my template, my soul tribe, if you want to call it that. So just a reminder that there's 144,000 templates. It's not 144,000 chosen ones like you see in religious scripture, but that number is really important. So there's 144,000 templates. And so you belong to one of those 144,000 templates. It's also called your fractal line. So what happens is we attract so much conflict and disharmony in our relationships because we're with people who are not on our template. So that can create a lot of conflict. And so there was a greater purpose to that, right? Of clearing a lot of ancestral karma. So these karmic relationships, they send out a frequency of disharmony, and this keeps your allies away. So basically, it's 55.5 million souls are on your fractal line. So if you're grooving with me and you feel aligned and you love my messages and you feel really comfortable, like, oh, I really like what he's talking about and how he delivers this material, and yes, I'm aligned with that too, then you're probably on my fractal. So if you could put that in the comment box. A few people did that last week. Like, yes, definitely I'm on your fractal line. So you want to stick around, right? If you're not subscribed, subscribe, because these are the people that I'm serving, right? These 55.5 million souls, wherever they are in the world. Okay? So here's the transit chart according to human design, right? And so what do we have here? Right away, we've got that channel. It's defined again, right? Remember the solar eclipse, we had the channel of mutation too. Except now it's Jupiter that's activating it with Pluto. So Pluto's been in the 60. This is the shadow of limitation. It's the gift of realism and justice. And then we've got the 3, Jupiter and Pluto together. And the 3 is chaos. It's called difficulty at the beginning. That's the ancient I Ching phrase, right? So chaos, innovation, innocence. So this is being activated. So this is mutation, huge mutation. We're in a mutative time right now, and you may be experiencing the mutation. Maybe internally you're feeling it, like you go inside during your meditation or you close your eyes and you can feel a lot of energy moving around. Or you can see it out in your external world, right? Lots of chaos and disruption. That's what eclipses bring astrologically. And your sleep may be disrupted. Time, that's what I'm having a strange relationship with time. This seems to be time is like really slowing down for me. Not that I can kick back, right, and postpone and dig in my heels, right, letting my ego take over, but it's just, there's more of a spaciousness, that's what I'm feeling in terms of time. Or just feeling different, like waking up and you feel like a completely different person. Well, these are all manifestations of this mutation, right, this mutation. And it's a global phenomenon, right? This is a global transit. It's not a personal natal chart. So it's going to affect everybody. This frequency is on the planet now, this mutation. And Jupiter and Pluto there, right? The heavy hitters. So let's look. We got 1 and 2, right? For the lunar eclipse. So there's the moon, and you've got 1.2. And that's coming off the self. If you can see my mouse there, just above the life force energy, that's the self. And that's the 1. And then the 2, and you can see the Sun and Uranus together. And Mercury's really close by, even though it doesn't have the same number, right? But they're all in Taurus. This is a very impactful time that we're in now. And it's not like you go to May 5th and then it happens. It's building up. The eclipses are we're building up on the solar eclipse, and now the lunar eclipse is intensifying the energy. So it's like this intensity is building. You're probably all feeling it. So remember that the 2 is the magnetic monopole in human design. So this is the magnet that attracts. Mono, it's only 1. So it attracts, it doesn't repel, and it's about getting you on your trajectory, your life path. Right? There's a destiny that you're here to follow, a destiny path. And the 2's there, Uranus has been activating that for a while, and now the Sun is illuminating that. So you should be getting some really clear insights, right? Like the lightning in the bottle of where to go. Doors should be starting to open, or at least a little crack where you're seeing some light come in, right? So that's the 2. And then with the 1, right? So the 1, so this is the shadow of numbness. It's called entropy, but I like to call it numbness because it's about a feeling. And so numbness is a feeling, because some people think, well, numb means you're not feeling anything. No, you're feeling something. Numbness is even a feeling. It's like this the frozen lake. It's that thick ice that's over the lake. That's numbness. So what you do is you feel through it. You just like feel the numbness, and then that ice cap will start to crack, and then the emotions start to move again. But it's part of the creative process. This is creativity, right? The gift of creativity, the 1. It's very, very creative. It's the first, right? The first of all the hexagrams, number 1. So in terms of why I have Neptune there, it's like, why do you have Neptune there? I don't have the astrology wheel, but each zodiac sign can be divided up into 3, right? So you've got Taurus. Well, this is Scorpio. You've got your Scorpio, and it goes 0 to 30 degrees, and then it moves into Sagittarius. Well, it can be divided 3, 10 degree, 10 to 20, 20 to 30 degrees, and where it fits, right? Where it fits in here. So there's a planetary ruler even within that. So Neptune is the ruler of this. So it just gives another flavor, right, of this. And then it's a tarot card associated with it. So I didn't pick this randomly. This correlates to this, the decan of in Scorpio. So this is the 4 cups. So this gives us even more information about here. And then I threw Mercury in here because the North Node ruler is Taurus. There's so many planets in Taurus, and Mercury's retrograde right now. So it'd be worth looking at that too. And so and it's Venus. I forgot to put the Venus sign here for the decan, but there's the 5 of Pentacles, right? And it's with the shadow of addiction. This is the gate of return, the shadow of addiction, the city of silence. So the 24 comes off the mind. That's our own personal psychological mind, right? So what are we returning to? Our thoughts. Mercury rules what we're thinking about, right? So Mercury retrograde, why you don't sign contracts, it's said, astrologers say, is because your mind is ramped up. Right? And that means you're ungrounded. You're more apt to be ungrounded, and you're more apt to miss details. Oh, I didn't see that in the contract, right? I didn't see that I'm signing this lease for a year instead of month by month. Like silly little mistakes, but they can be overcome. So I never say like give your power over to astrology. It's just you work with it, right? Astrology's like it's raining out. It's raining, right? So, okay, it's raining, so I'm going to bring an umbrella today, right? So Mercury's in retrograde, then I'm going to be more grounded, right? When I sign things and details in my thinking, I'm just going to take my time. I'm going to slow down, right? So what has it got us thinking about is the 5 of Pentacles, which is poverty, it's scarcity consciousness. So the mind is ramped up about this. Lots of survival stuff. Pentacles are all about money, right? And so it's the gate of return. It's like getting stuck in this mental loop over and over and over and over again, thinking about the same things over and over and over again. You can't get out of that loop. You can't get out of scarcity consciousness, right? So the beauty of Mercury retrograde is it's about throwing off all these thoughts that are limiting you. The 60, right? Pluto, that's limitation, that are limiting you. Limiting your perception, right? You're not seeing clearly, you're not perceiving clearly, you're not in reality. So I'm going to be talking about that, right? So Neptune here with the moon in this Four of Cups, this makes everything really cloudy, right? When we have a heavy Neptune transit, it's usually when all the shysters come out, right? All the scam artists come out, right? Because people are more gullible because they can't see clearly. There's a fog, there's a glamoring, right? So this is showing us with this lunar eclipse, right? It's about letting go of memory, right? This Four of Cups is all about memory. So letting go of memories. That's where's your spiritual home? That was from the solar eclipse. So for some reason it got on there. Probably to remind us. These are very about home, right? About home, about our past lives, about our childhood, right? Childhood memories. So this is signifying that we're being reborn after a difficult phase. And the questions are, how can I open my heart up to others now? How can I bring more play and trust into my present life? How can I embrace this innocence, right? This 3 now. Okay, so let's go into the memory. I want to focus on memory. So my new approach with this channel is, I don't know, maybe this isn't a shock to you, but getting more spiritual, right? Because that's what I'm all about. So I'm going back to my roots with ancient spiritual knowledge because I feel like that's what people really need now. And ancient spiritual knowledge, it serves us because it's not about dogma. You should do this and you shouldn't do that. It's not about control. It's about empowering you as a spiritual being. Because we need spiritual knowledge, right? That's what's been hidden from us. And ancient spiritual knowledge are the deep, deep roots, right? It's not like New Age teaching that was just made up, 5 years ago or 10 years ago. This is like deep, deep, deep roots. And so this can really serve us, right? Ancient spiritual knowledge with astrology, because astrology is ancient in itself, but human design's fairly new, right? Human design really came through in after the harmonic convergence, right, in 1987. Okay, so what's happening? Let's look at what's happening in the world here. Well, back to memory. I want to focus on memory. So past life memories are surfacing now. Cellular memories are surfacing, and our ancestral memories. So our own personal memories too through our emotional body are surfacing. And so memories are clearing to make way for our evolution, our creativity, because we're carrying these with us. You may not even realize you're carrying so much memory because it's completely clouding your perception. It's who you think you are. This is your conditioned mind, right? Your conditioned mind is filled with these memories. It's like driving around in a car and it's like a dirty windshield. You can't see clearly at all, right? So right now, life, right, this energy, the frequency increase on the planet is like the windshield wipers, wiping that off. And that's all the memories are being wiped and thrown away so that you can start to see clearly and operate clearly. So normally, this takes place after death, right? If we're just going to go into this incarnation, this personal memory, right? Normally this takes place after death. So in terms of our bodies, We've got 9, according to yogic teachings, we have 10 bodies in total, right? So we've got 9 more bodies than just our physical body. So after death, all the bodies drop, right? After death. And then the soul leaves with the subtle body. The subtle body is wrapped around the soul with the subconscious mind. So, right? To the infinite. And then what happens here is your subconscious mind, this is the holder of all your memories, right? So if you look at, like, we're so terrified of being, 24/7 surveillance, we're going to be watched all the time and blah, blah, blah. Well, this is an unconscious fear because we know that we're already watched 24/7. That's why it brings up fear. It's because we have a subconscious mind. That's the storehouse of all our actions, our deeds, our thoughts. Everything is in there. All our memories are in there. You can't escape yourself, right? So leaving the body, the subtle body drops, subconscious mind starts to download. And this is, we hear people say, I saw my life flash through before my eyes in 2 seconds. Well, that was their subconscious mind downloading in front of them, right? So that they could see and process these memories. Right? So this is what happens. But now we're being called to do this here, right? On the planet, right? We're here to do it in this incarnation while we're alive, process these memories. So, what was the other one here? Okay, so if you're unconscious, what does this look like? Okay, say you're unconscious. Where you're going to attract... Unconscious means you're ignorant, right? You're not aware of what's going on, right? You'll attract similar experiences, right? Right? Your subconscious mind will attract similar experiences to you so that you can integrate them on the external. So you're working it all out on the external, right? So consciously, if you're conscious, you're going to see images. So you'll close your eyes. Maybe you're asleep. You can work through the subconscious can work through the dream state too. You're going to see images flashing like really, really fast. You may feel you will feel body sensations. I'm not going to say if. You'll feel these body sensations. And then maybe even have spontaneous emotional releases, like not even realizing, why am I crying, or why am I so upset now? Why am I so depressed now? Why don't I have any energy today now? Where everything's being processed, right? It's a sorting that's happening to each one of us. So an example of this, if we take it to not just personal life, because remember, past life, right? Our past life follows us into this lifetime. We'll say, and our ancestral memories. Okay, so there's a fear of survival, right? On your ancestral line. These are the deep, deep phobias and fears. These patterns, these wound patterns that follow us down through the ancestral line, right? It's deep in our unconscious. So there's a fear of survival coming from our ancestral line where you're going to feel this. And maybe it makes no sense to you at all. Like, why am I so fearful right now? I'm in terror. Every cell of my being is like in fear and I'm constricted, right? I feel like there's no movement inside and my mind is trying to take over and create stories about it. Well, it's just coming up to be cleared, right? Through you. Your ancestors can't do it on the other side. It has to be done through you. So keep that in mind. Stay conscious, right? Stay conscious, because when you're unconscious, you're going to be reacting. You're going to be reacting to the reflection, right? This is I'm going kicking and screaming towards my awakening, right? The alarm clock's going off and I'm kicking people, I'm kicking the sheets, I'm refusing to wake up. You want to be conscious and work with this energy, And it helps to understand, right, what's going on. So also to remember with memory that it's up and down. And that means it comes and goes, right? The memories aren't you. They're just coming to be watched and witnessed by you, the soul, the eternal soul, right? Because this is how the processing works. You have to see it before it's released, or feel it before it's released. So right now, I mean, we're too focused on, I see this as a humanity, we're much, much too focused on the death of the world, and we're not focused enough on the birth of the world, what's being birthed, because that's really what's happening, right? The world is being birthed into the new. We're seeing everything dying, and trying to hold on to that is a fool's game, right? It has to happen. This has to collapse. It's the cycles, right, of creation. So this birth can happen. So bring it to you. Are you too focused on what's dying in your life, what's leaving in your life, and not focused enough on what's being born, right? What's being born in your life. Too focused on trying to maintain your old self, your old identity, and not focused on enough on the new self that's being born right now. Right? These are intense times. So what do you do when you're confronted with memories? Right? And this can happen in the middle of the night. Right? It can happen anytime. Where you just feel like you're going to lose it. Right? Confront it with memories. What to do? Nothing. You do nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing. So nothing means that you're detached, right? You're in the eye of the storm. That hurricane are all the memories coming, all the body sensations, the mind, the emotions, all of it, the fears, the phobias are all coming at you, right? Well, you do nothing, and that means you're detached. You stay detached. So that means you don't identify with what's this storm, because it's going to move, right? So the mind and the ego freak out because they it's going to be permanent. It's always going to be this way. I have to do something. I have to control the hurricane. I have to control the storm. And that's what it's like. You can't control that, right? You can't control this energy. It's a powerful force. So you don't want to be interfering, and that means reacting. You don't want to be creating stories about it, right? You don't want to be creating an identity about it. You don't want to be reacting to it. You want to go to your center. That's where the place of calm is, isn't it? In the hurricane. This means going deep, deep inside yourself, right? That's your core. That's where your security is, not here in the hurricane. You'll just be flung left and right. Right? You'll be in victim consciousness. You'll be suffering, right? This is not where you want to be. This is something you want to pass, right? It's passing through you to be integrated. So you want to let the storm pass, right? Let the storm pass. And you can even bring this to the external, right? Maybe your memories are all being played out in the external world, and that's, right? That's how it can play out too. Even if you're conscious, it can play out in the external world. Why is this happening to me? This is so bizarre. That's always a sign that it's a memory, right? Some kind of crazy past life memory, right? This karmic relationship sweeps through your life like cat in a hat and creates all this chaos in your life. And you're like, how did I get into this? Well, it's probably a memory, a past life memory. Well, you let it pass. Right? You don't try to seek revenge or I got to get back at that person and listening to the ego. It's just like, let it pass, right? Let these memories pass because you want to be here with your template, with your soul allies. These people are here to support your purpose. Like me, if you're on my fractal line, I'm here to support your higher purpose, right? And vice versa. You want to be with those, not the karmic relationships. Right? So you let that pass too, because memories can play out on the external world too. And you'll always know it's some kind of crazy memory when it makes no sense at all. And it brings up so much emotion, right? From deep, deep within your unconscious mind. So what is memory? Let's look at this just briefly here. What is memory? Well, it exists in the mind, in the emotional body. It can be in the cells. Now we're talking about personal memory now. So it only exists in the mind and your emotional body. And it's an undigested experience, right? So what happens when you eat some food and it's too rich or something, right? And you're having digestive issues. You burping it up, right? Well, we're burping up these memories right now. We're burping them up because they're undigested, right? It's an undigested experience that's coming up to be cleared. Okay, so it doesn't really exist anymore. It's past. You already had that experience, but you didn't work through it at the time for some reason, right? And now it's the time to work through it, and that's by witnessing it, by feeling it, if there's emotions coming up, and you can feel in a detached way. You don't have to be diving right in there and then being in victim about your emotions. You can be detached because you're much greater than your emotional body. And you let it, like a storm, the emotional storm, move through you. But you feel it, you experience it, and then it will leave quite quickly. So even with memory, it changes. Your memory changes. Even the memories are changing. They're not stable. It's subjective, and it really depends on your emotional state. You remember your childhood one way if you're in a different, let's say you're in a joyous emotional state and you're feeling nostalgic about your childhood. Well, you're going to look back at your childhood in a positive way. If you're in a low emotional state and you're feeling depressed and you're hopeless and the mind and the ego want to blame somebody, like I'm going to blame my parents, then you're going to see your childhood in a completely different way from a victim state, right? It's changeable. Notice that it's never the same. Your memories are never the same. They even change over time. So it's like holding on to a ghost, right? To hold on to these memories, and it's feeding a ghost in you. And this is the old you, right? You're constantly changing, right? You, the personality, right? Whatever your name is, you're constantly changing, right? That's you, the ghost. So, and you see that, if you look back to when you were even a teenager, right? Go back to when you were 13 or 14. Well, you're a completely different person now, a lot more wise, I would hope, right? Even that, you're not the same. We're constantly changing, and because we're changeable, right? As a personality, as an identity. So what's the medicine for an undigested experience, especially if it goes back to childhood? Well, it's the F word, right? That is forgiveness, right? That's the medicine. We've got Tums and baking soda for this, because right, your pH of your stomach gets out of balance, right? That brings it back in balance. Well, forgiveness brings you back in balance. If you have an undigested experience, that means your being is out of balance, right? And it needs attention, and that's why these memories are coming up, right? So that's what I would say for this lunar eclipse, right? And this lunar eclipses are about letting something go, right? Letting something go. So we're letting go of these old memories that are clouding us because it's Neptune, right? We're letting go of our mind, going over the past, over and over and over and over in the past, addicted, right? So the addiction can be the addiction to negative thinking and firmly, like stubbornly saying, well, this is the way it was in the past. This is what it was like in my childhood. You don't know for sure because the memory is not stable, right? It's changing all the time. Or it can play out with addictions reaching on the external, right? Trying to numb those feelings, keep those feelings down, keep those memories from surfacing, right? And it's just a postponement. That's all it is. And it's the mind. But the gift here is the silence, right? So the silence would be this, when you're in the eye of the storm. You're in your center and there's silence there when you're in your center. Your mind is silent here. You're the witness, right? The holy witness. You're just witnessing the storm, witnessing the emotions, witnessing the mind. Yeah. Okay, let me see some comments here. Okay, we got a good little group here. I want to see if anybody's saying anything about... Okay. Great. So M. Bain says on the same fractal. Phantom says he's on the same fractal. Okay, Catherine, the reflector, Adi Shakti Satnam, Megan Satnam. Okay. Oh, I'm so happy you're following the moon, Catherine, as a reflector. So Catherine says the moon's going to oppose Pluto later tonight. More emotions coming up, right? Gate 60 with the gate 56, right? The 56 is up here. Yeah. So Sahej says, I'm being beat up by my memories of what I didn't do right, made the wrong decision, being called back to the rebirthing meditations. Yeah. So use the F word on yourself, Sahej. So that means forgive yourself, right? And that's just the ego, right? That's the ego and the mind beating you up. So Sahej, you want to be here, right? You want to be in the eye of the storm and watch the ego. The ego can't touch you when you're in here, in your center, in the core, right? And forgiving yourself, right? We're not perfect. We're humans. We're here to make mistakes, especially, Sahej, if you're a third line, if you have got a third line profile. So if you're, if the red side, because this is a transit chart, right? If you say this was 2.3 and then you had like 20.3 on the other side, will you be a third line, right? Either, right? Well, you never have 3 threes. But if you've got 2.3, like for example, then you're a third line and you're here to make discoveries, right? So that means that it can look like, oh, I'm making so many mistakes, but you're actually designed to bump into life bump into you, and that you make discoveries that you share with other people. So look at it like that, right? What did I learn from making those decisions? And maybe it was the right decision, right? And you just don't know. The mind and the ego don't know. They don't know the whole picture. We're not omniscient. We don't know. But forgiveness. Okay, Phantom says, you have explained my life and feelings the last 2 shows exactly. Very accurate with your descriptions. That's great. Okay, Megan says, yeah, she's got mirroring this experience too. So it really helps to understand, and that's my role as a projector, is to give you context and what's going on, right? Not to go into fear now. This is not the time to go into fear. And it's the time to transcend, right? Transcend these limitations. The limitations that the world is showing us, right? Because Pluto is always external forces, external, right? In its Capricorn, it's still in Capricorn, even though in Zodiac it's in Aquarius, it's still a little bit, it's on the cusp, right? The 60, but it's still in Capricorn. It's not to buy into what you're seeing in the world. Remember Neptune. You're not seeing the whole picture when you look through your 2 eyes. You have to remember that we're going through a massive global awakening right now. That's what's really happening. Oh, I know what I wanted to say about our ancestors. I wanted to stress this, that your purpose in this lifetime is not to survive. It's not to survive. And this is what Pluto wants us stuck in, wants humanity stuck in, right? This is low frequency Pluto. stuck in limitation. I have to compromise myself. I have to compromise my soul. I have to make all these compromises. I have to make myself small and live in fear because I just need to survive. Well, here's a hot tip, right? Here's the reminder. Your ancestors already did that. They already mastered survival. And you may say, well, how do you know? Well, you're alive, right? You're alive, you're living, you're breathing, you're walking, right? You are a product of your ancestral line. They've already mastered survival. You have a different purpose in this lifetime, and it's not survival. It's not survival. It's to transcend, right? The ego, the mind, all your not self identities, all the identities you think you are and you're not. You're here to face your unconscious fears, your shadows, and transcend those. And you're to live as your higher authentic self, your higher spiritual authentic self. And that means living without ego, right? So that's what your spiritual purpose is now. It's not to survive. It's not just about survival, right? So if you're having like terror around fear of survival, like I mentioned, that's just old memories, right? Being transmuted. So remember that. We forget how strong we are because of our ancestors. Our ancestors got us here, where we are now. They fought the elements. They fought the wars, right? They went through many, many hardships just to survive, just to keep the species alive. That was their sole purpose. Well, we have a different sole purpose now, right? We've already done that. You've already done that for your ancestors. Or your ancestors have already done that for you. Now you're doing something for your ancestors, right? So your past ancestors, because we can free them with, this is about liberation of your spirit, of your soul. We can free them, right? Down that line, and we can free our future generations too. And you can free your fractal line, right? Through this liberating yourself. This is the highest sole purpose you can have, is to be liberated from the ego, mind, not self. And you're liberated from suffering. Right away, you're liberated from suffering. So this has to be the goal, and to remember that this is the goal, right? This is your purpose, not just to survive, right? Not to just to survive. Yes, we have to know that we're immortal and eternal. Now, not when we're dead, not when we're physically dead. And oh yeah, right, we're here. This is mukti, right? This is liberation while alive. Jiwan mukti, liberation while alive. Yeah. So Willow's doing body work. That's good. Yeah. Yeah. And staying in the present moment is definitely, that's a good point, Heather. Stay in the present moment and deal with things as they come. Remember, we're leaving the cross of the sleep, or cross of planning. No more planning anymore. Not listening to the ego and strategizing. It's all about being in the present moment. You think there's a lot of change now? Like, look out. Huge change is coming. So it's just pressuring us to become more and more into the eternal. And the eternal is now. It's the present. There's no time in the eternal. There's no time without ego. What, right? No, time doesn't exist. Ego and time come together. Ego, mind, and time, they all coexist together. So it's best to embrace the new, right? This is your new self that's being born, right? That's being born. Yeah. Okay. That's right. So I just want to remind people that I'm going to start doing group coaching sessions. I'm launching my first one on May 7th. And so I just want to explain why. And the focus is this. This is my focus right here. So it's working directly with people, right? So there'll be a group. There's only going to be 12 people because I want to have enough time for each person. But working with your charts, your human design, and your astrological chart. Because it's like, okay, where are these? What's this ego? This ego is nebulous. Well, the chart, right, that when we're dealing with the ego, It's nebulous. It's nebulous, but it's very specific to you, to your identity. And it goes back to your past lives. So there's a core identity that follows you lifetime after lifetime after lifetime that you've been working through, right? And then there's a secondary, so primary identity, secondary identity that have been following you lifetime after lifetime after your lifetime. These are identities that aren't you, right? They're connected to the emotional body. This is what keeps pulling you to the karmic wheel over and over and over again. So you're constantly taking a new body, right? Well, the chart, right? In my experience and working with other people, you can identify this past life. It's right there in the chart. It's right there in the chart. So I've been working on it myself, right? And so there's qualities that come with this identity. And this is what's holding you back. This is what's creating suffering are these identities, these ego identities, right? And also they come with the shadows and the fears too, so that you can really step into your light and your power, okay? So if you're interested in that, then click the link below. And what I've done, this is my new way, is I looked at all my expenses and I live very simply and did a total logical thing, added them all up, and then divide it by 12. And then this is the number that I've come up with. So this way I can put my focus on serving you rather than, oh, I've got to create something else and something else, right? To support myself. And then also it keeps me in, it's just fusing my energy. I'm not being a real projector then, right? So this way I can really serve people because I want to spend time with these 12 people on my template and get them going, right? Get them going. And you'll have me weekly, right? Because life is what brings you your challenges, and then I can help you. Oh, this is the spiritual lesson you're in, right? This is how the identity's playing out. I'm really good at that, pattern recognition. Here's how you get out of it so you can grow and evolve really, really quickly, okay? So if you're called to that, then please join in, okay? Okay. Clarence, you've got to watch your mind because you are channeling the ego right now, right? And so with shadow, if you're doing this, them, you're projecting your own shadow. That's what's happening. So shadow 101 is there's only one person in the room. As soon as you're judging other people and them, you're in separation, you're in your ego, and you're in shadow. So that's what I would say to you is like, own it. There's a part of you that thinks you're a POS. There's a part of you that thinks you're evil, right? Yeah. Anyway, that's what I want to leave people with. And this goes for everybody, right? If you're judging other people and feeling victimized by whatever is out there, it's just you're projecting your own unconscious, right, onto the external, right? It's time to own our shadows. If we just did that one thing as a humanity, I'm going to stop projecting my negativity and my darkness out on the external world. We would shift the consciousness in a second, right? That in itself, that's about what it means to be a spiritual adult, right? Is to own, right? To own your own, take responsibility for your own consciousness. Okay, so I'll see you soon in the next video. And please sign up for my newsletter too. So what I do with the newsletter is I announce my video, but then I've been starting to write more and so elaborate more on these ideas. Okay? Okay, Satnam, aloha everybody. Bye-bye.